Amy Alley Card, author of The Tigerbelles, Olympic Legends from Tennessee State. And what's interesting about this story, aside from everything, is that it comes out of the Jim Crow South in 1960. The Tennessee State University all-black women's track team, they went to the Olympics at the Games in Rome, and they beat the odds there. I mean, again, against this America from which they'd come that was still heavily segregated, filled with prejudice and racism, and I mean, even more naked than we find today. But the story of what happened to the Tigerbelles, you can see in the Olympics, transcends just sports. So let's bring her on now. Hi, Amy Alley Card.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for being here. What a story you've come upon here. Tell me about these women, the Tigerbelles. So it was an all-black team from Tennessee State in 1960.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Tigerbelles gathered by Ed Temple, who was the coach at the time, and they all were at this HBCU, the Tennessee State University in Nashville, and they together made up eight people that were trained at Tennessee State, made up almost the entire sprint team and the U.S. Olympic team, and they ended up bringing home 6 gold medals in 1960.
You have been researching them, their past, and writing about them because it's more than a story of this team and their visit to the Olympics and their triumph at the Olympics, I take it. It's a story about those individuals and some of the impediments to even getting them there to the Olympics.
That's right. I mean, the one that most people would have heard of is Wilma Rudolph. She was the one who brought home the 3 gold medals that time. But the thing that was so fascinating to me about the team was that they all together made it. So, and they each have their own individual stories. Barbara Jones was on the team. She was a self-proclaimed diva, and she won her first gold medal in 1952. She was only 15 years old. She was the youngest American woman to win gold. And Willie White was from Greenwood, Mississippi, and she was made the Olympics at 16 years old with the team in 1956. And so they just did a lot of really incredible things, overcoming all the adversity in their personal lives. They each have their own stories, and it was just really great to be able to find out what each of them had done in their own personal lives and together overcome to get to that point.
Well, your book is getting remarkable reviews. I mean, the story of the Tigerbelles is one of the most inspiring tales in the history of athletics. Coach Ed Temple and an incredibly talented group of Olympians overcame barriers of race, class, and gender to become the most dominant track program in the world. Drawing on deep research and more than 60 years of interviews, Amy Card deftly brings this compelling story to life in the Tigerbelles. This is American history that must not be forgotten. Thanks to this fascinating, timely, and highly readable book, the story of remarkable women succeeding against the tallest odds will be enjoyed for generations to come. Wow, that's from a New York Times best-selling author named Andrew Marinas. So congratulations, Amy Alley Card. Your book is getting, insane reviews. What made you so fascinated by this story? What initially got you so interested in this group of extraordinary people?
Andrew is very generous with his reviews. I really appreciate that about him, really supporting other writers. But so I grew up knowing about this story because my grandfather was a coach in Nashville at the time of the Tigerbelles, and he became friends with Coach Temple. And I just grew up with knowing about the Tigerbelles as just the epitome of athletic achievement. And when I realized as I got older that more people didn't know about who they were, I just felt like it was something that needed to be shared. And the more that I dug into it, the more I saw and realized about each personal story and the value of the team, and it just drew me in more and more. And
Can you give me an example for those of us who didn't live through the Jim Crow era as
right.
to how this Jim Crow era affected these women and sort of life at that time in 1960 or around that time leading up to 1960?
Yeah, it was really severe. I mean, people weren't white and black people weren't using the same bathrooms. They weren't using the same restaurants. They weren't using the same water fountains. They couldn't go to the same places. They when they would travel, when the Tigerbelles would travel to other places, they had to be really careful about where they stopped to make sure, where could they stay and where could they eat. And one example was, so my grandfather was a coach at Vanderbilt, and they had an SEC team, which was really strong. And they had some people that would win SEC championships. But when he heard about the Tigerbelles, the Tennessee State was, underfunded as a university, but also women's track was not supported even within the school that much. Women were encouraged to participate in athletics at all. And so when my grandfather found out about the team, he invited them to come and practice on Vanderbilt's track, because they only had a track to practice on that went halfway around. So I can't even imagine elite athletes who are running it. They were competing against Russia and Britain, who the entire country's resources would be behind these teams that would represent their countries at the Olympics. And our teams really were running in substantial conditions. And but at Vanderbilt at the time, the track was a great quality track, but they only had their best person in that year was Kent Russ. He was a long jumper, and Ralph Boston was a long jumper at the time too at Tennessee State. So when Tennessee State's athletes came over to practice on Vanderbilt's track, the team saw Ralph Boston would jump 2 feet further than the SEC champion. So that just shows how much better they were, and they were in the same town with very different resources. So the issues that they dealt with in the era were real, and some of the athletes that would come from the other places where they weren't dealing with the Jim Crow South issues had a lot of trouble adapting to just going to school in the South. So that was another thing that they had to work against. To train with this great coach, they had to sacrifice and deal with some of the issues in the town at the time.
When they got to Europe, was the racism just as bad?
Actually, they did not experience that. And in fact, Willie White really famously talks about how and this was 1956, and Willie White had worked in the cotton fields in Greenwood, Mississippi. And part of the reason why she wanted to make the Olympic team was so that she wouldn't have to go back to Greenwood and work in the fields again. And she was there when Emmett Till was murdered. And so she witnessed that whole event in her hometown. And then she was actually in the Melbourne Olympics in 1956. And when she got to Melbourne, she realized that white people and black people could mix. They could be friends. They could, eat together and dance together and all these. So her whole life opened up a world of new possibilities. And she never wanted to go home after that. Every summer after that, she made sure she was running. So that was her main objective, even to make the Olympic team, was not necessarily just for the Olympics. It was so that she didn't have to go home and work.
I have to say, that's one of the more intriguing aspects of your book, is describing the way that athletics, racism, Jim Crow South, the Olympics, these extraordinary people, I mean, they were three-dimensional people beyond just their excellence and prowess in track, how it all intersects and comes together and gives you a complete picture of people, as you say, who just wanted to have a life, a complete life, and who were being really kept down in so many different ways. I asked you the question about Europe because I just think historically we lose track of the fact that Europe's been way ahead of us on this stuff. You know, even the abolition of slavery, Europe was way ahead of the abolitionist movement in this country. So, in general terms of speaking, but I'm fascinated by this. Congratulations on such great reviews. It really looks to be something that will be a treat, and a lot of people in the chat are saying that they're looking forward to reading it as well. How did this coach come along? He was just the coach at Tennessee.
So actually, that's at the beginning of the book. So that story, but he actually was an athlete at Tennessee State, and he thought that he got called into the head of school's office, and he thought he was going to get kicked out because what he was doing was still staying in the dorm while he was looking. He had already graduated and he was looking for a job, and he thought he was just going to get kicked out of the dorm. But it turns out they were offering him a job to coach. But he had to coach the women, and that was something he wasn't really thinking about doing. It wasn't that he was opposed to it, but he just hadn't considered that as an option. He didn't know how to coach them specifically, but he got the opportunity. And once he started, he never took another job. That was what he wanted to do his entire career. In fact, I talked to him before he passed away. I was just very fortunate to have that opportunity. And when I was ending the conversation, I asked him what he wanted people to know most about his time with the Tigerbelles and about the Tigerbelles in general. And he said the thing that he was the most proud of was that every single one of his Olympic athletes had graduated from college. Yeah, and that was the thing, more than all of their athletics. And these women were very accomplished, not only, you know, with their medals on the track, but in their lives. But he just really wanted that was the most important thing. First, they came for the education, and then they came to run track. So.
Isn't that terrific? That really is terrific. And that, again, that speaks to the complete nature of the experience. It's not just the one-dimensional track story. Hey, congratulations again. Looking forward to myself getting into this. I haven't seen the book yet. I'm looking forward to getting into it as well. It's really intriguing.
You get a copy.
Yeah, I really want. Oh, was I supposed to get a copy? I didn't get one. So
no, I'll get you one.
Oh, you'll get me one. Okay, good. Yeah, I usually try to read the books of the guests that we have on, but this time I didn't get a book, so that's I'd love to read it. Aime, congratulations. The book, The Tigerbelles, Olympic Legends from Tennessee State. Definitely check it out. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's just been released. Congratulations. It still has all the newness and freshness associated with it. So you can find it wherever books are sold. We've got it up on the screen now. And again, the description and the title, if you're forgetting it, will be in the description for this show. Congratulations, Aime Alicard. Looking forward to hearing continued good things from your world.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.